friends. Welcome to Incredibly Useful Exercises for the Double Bass, where we condition specific aspects of our performance in short, stolen moments. I'm Dennis Whitaker. Thank you for joining me in today's exploration of a musical gesture that, while very common in music, is one of the least conditioned by bassists. Today we will be playing trills, which will develop clean, brilliant trills and a strong, measured left-hand action. I want to thank Joey Naeger for his generous support of this series. Joey has been my go-to luthier for over 5 years. He sculpted my fingerboards buzz-free on both my 1850 English orchestra bass and my solo bass, making them so easy to play, and his tone work on my basses keeps them sounding full, free, and beautiful. Many professional working bassists throughout Texas rely on Joey for fixing and maintaining their treasured instruments. The Joey Naeger prize-winning basses are also wonderful instruments. Please visit Joey's website listed below, and if you happen to be in the Houston area, pay him a visit to play his basses and to see how he can improve the playability and tone of your instrument. Trills is an exercise designed to break down and organize a common musical gesture that has surprisingly tricky technical demands. The great teacher Shinichi Suzuki placed brilliant trills as number 6 of his top 10 important skills for teachers of the Suzuki method, emphasizing that every note must be heard regardless of how fast you play the trill. Bassists are often the brunt of trill jokes, my favorite being that we are shocked when we hear the virtuoso trill at the beginning of Fur Elise. This exercise will condition you to conquer that devastating trill and many others. I'll be breaking this exercise down into 2 separate videos, one video for even trills, which we'll play today, and one for odd trills, which we'll play in the next episode. Both have their own challenges and deserve their own focus. So how do you know whether to play an odd trill or an even trill in your music? Here's a rule to remember. If the last note in the trill is different than the first note, you will use an even trill. If the last note of the trill is the same as the first note, you will use an odd trill. This exercise is 2 minutes long, but since we will be doing it in 2 different octaves, it will be 4 minutes of total playing. It has a control rating of 5, mindfulness is 3, expression is 0, since we're working on non-expressive trills. Power is 1, velocity is 2, coordination is 4, and endurance is 0. So I play this exercise with one goal in mind, for the development, control, and exercise of clear and even trills. I want my trills to be clear so I can hear every note. I want them to be even so they end exactly when I want them to. This means that I finish the trills exactly right and balanced, like a gymnast landing neatly after a series of flips. Let's start by exploring the motions of the left fingers. My left fingers earn their living by making 2 motions. One when I turn on the fingers, dropping them to the string. The other is when I turn off the fingers, by returning them to their neutral position. I don't pick up the fingers. That engages the muscles on the back of the hand, and I don't want any wasted motion in my technique. Try this. Make your left hand go dead and hold it sideways. Now, quickly, pinch your thumb and index finger together in a circle. Now, release the pinch. That is turning them off. Now, pinch again, but this time throw your finger out straight. That is picking them up. We don't want that. So, this motion is about the same motion that piano players use when they play. However, there's one huge difference between a string trill and a piano trill. For a piano player, every note in a trill has to come from a downward motion. For a string player, however, a single tap and release of a finger produces 3 notes. That means that a string player can play a note by releasing energy as well as spending energy. This is not an easy concept to build into the hands, and it is exactly why this exercise has been productive for me. This is how we play trills, cleanly. How do we play trills evenly and land them neatly? by knowing how to exit the trills with correct right and left hand coordination. And we exit the trills one of two ways: by changing the bow on a tap, or by changing the bow on a release. This exercise practices each of those bow changes in each measure. So this is how I do the trills exercise. It's all about this pattern. In the ascending line, each beat starts on the lower note except for beat 4, which starts on the upper note. This means that on beat 3, the bow changes on a release, and on beat 1, it changes on a tap. Coming down, all beats start on the upper note except beat 4, which starts on the lower note. And this sets up the descending line to change bows on a tap on beat 3 and a release on beat 1. After the trill is done and we land cleanly, then we shift. If you can memorize this 4-beat pattern, the whole exercise becomes manageable. We're going to do trills in even groups today of 2, 4, 6, and 8. Feel free to go further if you feel like exploring. First, I play it on as many of the 4 strings as my time allows. I plan on about 2 minutes per run. I maintain clear, strong, and even left hand articulations. And finally, I change notes with a forearm vibrato motion. This technique adds velocity, power, and endurance to the fingers in both directions. I'll discuss this technique of a rotational forearm motion, or what I call chomping, in an upcoming video. Since I don't stop any exercise for any reason after I start playing, I review my recovery plan before I start. So first, it's normal to feel unmusical when I start counting the turns in a trill. This is not an expressive exercise we're doing, so I'm okay with sounding technical for now. I want to avoid flyaway fingers, so I will work to keep my fingers close to the string. And lastly, if I can't do the motion at a fast tempo, I'll slow the tempo down so I can play all of the notes. I'll keep the tempo there for the next few days until the motion takes root in my hand, and then I'll allow it to go faster. Okay, let's play. I'm going to play the lower octave first, recover for a few seconds, and then play it again in the upper octave. I don't use a metronome for this. I play each variation progressively slower for clarity. Ready? 1, 2, ready, play. those are even trills. We'll conquer the odd trills in the next episode. Here is one thought about using trills in your music. In some pieces, such as La Cinquantaine, you can use a type of trill to create an elegant gesture called an expressive trill, where the speed of the trill can slow down or speed up over the course of a single note. This exercise doesn't address that type of trill, but feel free to explore it on your own. Remember the rule for choosing trills. If the last note in the trill is different than the first note, you'll use an even trill. If the last note is the same as the first note, you'll use an odd trill. Thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you find the trills exercise as useful for your performance as it has been for mine. I would love to hear any success stories it brings you. Remember that I present these exercises in a way that I have used and benefited from them. I never intend to say that this is the only way to practice this or to approach this concept. Feel free to adapt any of these ideas for your own conditioning or teaching that best suits your playing style. Practice this and all other exercises in the series in short, stolen moments, or incorporate them into your regular conditioning routine. Please like and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this, and leave any comments, questions, technical exercises that you'd like to see explored, or observations down below. I look forward to you joining me next time. Thank you, and be well, friends.